Hi, Stuart Sutton at 1 Acre Plus Homes. Hope you're having a fantastic day. You may have heard about the philosophy professor who, at the beginning of every year, would set 3 buckets of water in front of his desk. He would invite 2 students to participate in this minor experiment, and he would ask one of them to put their hand in the water on the right, the other one would put their hand in the water on the left. They would then both put their hands in the water in the middle. He would ask, "What does that feel like?" Well, pretty much simultaneously, one would say, "Well, it's chilly," and the other one would say, "Oh, it's very warm," when in fact it was room temperature water. Why did one think it was chilly and one think it was warm? Well, because the bucket on the far right was ice water, the bucket on the far left was hot enough that you could barely put your hand in it. That's the rule of contrast. It has to do with pretty much everything we do in life. The reason the market feels very challenging right now is because we've experienced such an incredibly powerful market in the recent past. Let's take a look at some detailed stats and show you what I mean. Now, this is a question I just keep getting asked over and over. Are prices falling? Are prices falling? Are prices falling? And for a long time, I could tell you, no, they're not. The 1 Acre Plus market performs differently than the typical subdivision market. But at this point, I can tell you, yes, homes on an acre or more have seen slippage in pricing, and I'll show you exactly what that means and how much. First of all, we're covering January the 1st to May the 31st. So the 5-month run in 24 compared to that same 5 months in 23. And then we're going to go back and look at 2019 and even back to 2014. But first, the number of home sales, really no change. So 23, if people thought, well, that's not a great year, then they would think this isn't a great year because it's the same number of home sales. If they thought it was a good year, they'll think this is a good year. Same number of home sales. There's a slight difference in the way homes are selling, though, and you'll see that in a second as well. Days on the market right now. Now, there are 2 fields in the multiple listing service for days on market. First of all, days on market is how long it's been listed during its current listing term. And CDOM is cumulative days on market. How long has it been listed overall? So if an agent lists a home and then pulls it off the market after 90 days and another agent lists it, and let's say they sell it in 60 days, the DOM would say 60. The CDOM would say 60 plus 90 or 150. So that's the difference in those two. Quite sincerely, the CDOM is probably a little more accurate for overall purposes of how long does it take a home to sell. Because quite sincerely, there are a lot of homes. Matter of fact, Newsweek says right now that up to 50%, even more, of homes that go on the market are failing to sell. So the CDOM is probably the one that I would keep in mind if I were you. About 1 month longer than 23 during the same time period. Now, is that horrible? Not really, because this is actually fairly typical for homes on an acre or more, and was through all those really nice years of 2014, 2015, 2016, etc. We were hovering around 90 to 100 plus days for homes on an acre or more, and that's what it is now. List to sell ratio. What will a buyer pay compared to asking price? There's actually a little bit of change, but not enough to really consider to be a percentage. The 95.7 is just shy of 96%, so a little over 4% off asking, which is a little more than usual. This shows that buyers are being a little more demanding, negotiating a little harder than, well, they have any time in the past, because in a normal market you see this at about 97 to 97.5, so it is a little lower than typical. Price changes can tell you a little bit about what's going on in the market as well. The more price changes that are needed, the higher the price changes that are needed, that means the market is on a downward trend. And we are on a little bit of a downward trend. 4.24% is the average that a price was lowered before the listed price was correct and a buyer came along and made an offer on the house. So we're seeing a little bit more in price changes than we were a year ago. The average price, this is what you've been waiting for, the average price is about 7% less than a year ago, right at $880,000. Now, don't take this as absolute. Oh my goodness, my home is at 7% less than it was a year ago. It could be, but it could also be 12% less, but it could also be 3% less, because this is an average. And this is not a huge pool of data like if I took the entire Austsin multiple listing service. Bottom line is that this is indicative of the fact that prices have slipped. There are other indications that prices have slipped, but this is the major one. So we did see some price slippage for the first 5 months of 24 compared to 23, which means that it is a little more challenging to get your home sold. Now let me show you something here. The list to sell, you can see that's a little over 4%, and the price change is a little over 4%. That's 8% right there. So the average price sold was about 7% less than a year ago, and we're seeing deeper price changes and buyers paying farther away from asking. So that's affecting what that ultimate sale price is in the end anyway. So I hope that makes sense. The 5-year price change, I want to show you something. That same 879, 882, which is 7% less than a year ago, is 61% more than 5 years ago. So yes, you're seeing that negative, but that's not what you need to focus on. We had an incredible market for many years, especially that 18 to 20 months during 21 and 22. So you've seen 61% increase in equity. Now, I did something here for you that's kind of well, let me see if I can explain it. The 5-year price change that was typical after the 08 bust, we saw stability in 2012. So from then on, what were the 5-year changes? Well, from 2012 to 2017, from 2014 to 2019, from 20, etc. So the typical 5-year run was very different than the years that included that run up. So instead of the average price being $879, or let's just say $880, instead of the average price being about $780, if we hadn't seen that run up in equity for about that 18 months, the average price would still be around $756. So it really looks like about $120,000 to $125,000 equity gain during that run up, even though we've seen a slippage in prices. So I hope that makes sense. The positives far, far outweigh the negatives at this point. Everyone is kind of predicting that when interest rates are reduced, which is fully expected, we don't know for sure. There are so many factors involved, but if interest rates settle back down a little bit, the buyer demand will probably increase as a result, which should help this average price situation. I did put another video up here for you. This is one that, well, has served our clients extremely well for so many years. And it is the powerful secret that we share when we meet with a client about how to get more money for their home in a shorter amount of time. And it works beautifully. Take a look. Hope you enjoyed this video. Go ahead and subscribe if you like what you're hearing. I hope to see you on the next video.